She's from Philadelphia. I think you should really read her books and see how narratives and wonderful narrative videos, if you show your student one video or one narrative, student will remember it for life, that particular attitude. And that 7 minutes video from a YouTube is more powerful than your 1 hour lecture. And that's the power of narratives, you know. Pair students with experienced clinicians for guidance and encourage peer-to-peer learning and support. There's another ways of using technology. Incorporated e-learning technology, online forums, virtual patient interactions. Today, I think there is no limit, you know. I'm sure when we see a movie with an AI girl coming from USA, and I'm sure these movies have also started coming. Now you see the whole concept has changed. If you really seek AI in communication, it's amazing. I mean, it can do anything for you. Feedback mechanisms, implement robust feedback, where students can receive constructive feedback. You know, feedback along with reflection is the most powerful means of implementing attitude. Use video analysis for communication skills and training. Develop e-learning. I think communication lab is something which very few medical colleges today have. Many of them use their skill labs for communication lab. But there are some colleges who have come out with pure communication lab. Or when you have a skill lab, you can bring a concept of communication lab, where you try to record videos, record patient conversations, and you can just take patient conversations and then ask students to analyze where they should have taken a pause, what words they should have used, what was the approach, where they went wrong. You know, just analyze that one simple audio or video, and you will find that whole student will look in a very different way, and he will approach next time a difficult situation in a very different way. So there are some institutions who have got communication lab, effective and interesting, acceptable teaching. So this is a toolkit how to approach a study doctor-patient communication. You know, this was a wonderful paper from PMJ, you know. It talked about content, style, then it talked about response to communication, patient behaviors, and health outcomes. So you make students analyze every small. You take a kind of an either audio or video, and that is something which makes them learn better. Continuous assessment, I really talked. Then assessment of empathy training in medical education. You know, this was one paper which recently came, you know, 2024, this is in April. Education Administration Theory and Practice, you know, assessment of professionalism and students' purposive on AETCOM module. So people have now started developing empathy skills in India. We need to validate them and start applying them. Now, before ending, I'm going to tell you 2 other initiatives which really help you. One is value-based education, and second is humanities in medical. Now, value education is something which has been always part of many colleges. So values, goals, behavior, and self-value. Values give direction and consistency to your behavior. We want people to change, but we should give them a value framework. If you have a value framework, then only they will change rightly. Values help you know what to and not to make time for. Values establish a relationship between you and the world, and values set the direction for one's life. You know, what is the role of education? All of us called in Sanskrit called as sanskar. You know, sanskar. And it's a very interesting word, samskruti. You know, what nature gives us is what we call as a prakruti. Now, if you see it in a very negative way, it becomes vikruti. And if you see it in a very positive way, it becomes samskruti. So the whole world is, you're looking at a nature in a positive way. So how do you convert your right understanding in the self, relationship with the human beings, physical facility with the rest of the nature, and we need to convert the animal consciousness which we come with to the human consciousness. So when we try to improve from animal consciousness to the human consciousness, we bring a samskruti. And this is what is necessary for mutual happiness and mutual prosperity. So when we are trying to develop values, I'm sure I can talk about so much of spirituality, and you can talk about Bhagavad Gita, and I'm sure everybody will talk about Bible and everything. But everything is ultimately revolves around values. And we need to respect that values. So values and role models, values are imbibed by immediate teachers and parents and role models. Values imbibed by watching teachers in action. Students follow not only what teacher talks, but how he behaves. Many times teachers talk something, they behave in a very different way. The students remember how they behave. They don't remember what he talks. So that is very important. Mirror neurons, the whole concept of mirror neurons and the link between science, religion, and philosophy. So how do you incorporate values? Again, morning presentations, reflections, many outdoor and sports activities, group activities, team building, debate on value-based topics, offering social services on a voluntary basis. These are the ways you try to inculcate values. You know, we try to do many things in our college. You know, Sevankur, we make students go into villages or slums and teach those students, and they experience, they come back and tell their experience. That's the way their values are built. The second is humanities. You know, humanity and humility. Need role models. Develop teachers with values. Hidden curriculum. I think somebody has a lecture on hidden curriculum. I think Olinda is going to talk on hidden curriculum. Value-based education. Now, this is my first paper on humanities. You know, I think Indian Journal of Medical Ethics asked me to write about humanities. Fortunately or unfortunately, I knew nothing about it, much about humanities that time. So when they asked me to write about it, I wrote a mail to one of my mentors in, I think, US and UK. One said, yes, humanity is good. Other mentor, UK, said, she wrote a long letter, oh, humanity is all nonsense. It is. But then I started going deeper into this. And I realized that humanities in undergraduate medical curriculum has its own role. So we developed our humanities cell in 2016. I'm sure you started in 2015. I think the first was to start UCSF, St. John's. Some of them started. We started a little late, 2016, but it has been an amazing experience. This is a students' conference. Extension is a students' conference on humanities. And it's a 3-day conference. And they bring about not only the papers, but they also do a lot of activities. Look at the kind of activities they do in humanities. Workshop on resilience, panel on corruption in healthcare, film shows and discussions, gifted hands, and then you find human library, narrative experiences, what it means to be a patient. And I can give you, this is only glimpse. Every month, we have a humanities activity, and that really brings the best of the students. Students enjoy this. In spite of NEET, in spite of all this, there is a, I'm sure all students don't come, but there's a definitely more than 50% students do attend these sessions. And that makes the value in and the humanities in your school. So what could be achieved? Sustained department, active student participation, monthly programs, yearly conferences, annual booklets, in-house support, and that's what we have been doing it over years. So if you really look at it, AETCOM has increased awareness a lot. We have been able to make people understand that attitudes, communication, and ethics are important components. We need to give importance to that in our curriculum, and we should see to it that the students are given those experiences. And implementation has been fairly good. I mean, if you really see across, people have started using AETCOM. Some of them are using with passion, some of them are using as a rote. This is a problem sometimes. The time for curriculum to be elaborated more, ethics, communication, each has a huge areas to cover. What is most from knows how, we have to go to shows how. You know, most of the time when we are really talking about the Miller's pyramid, many times you find that it was, in the beginning it was knows, then it became knows how. Now we have to go to shows how level. Students have to show the attitude, communication, ethics in their way they behave. I'm sure we cannot think about does. Does is something they will do it when they go in practice, but at least we need to shift from knows how to shows how. Recently we wrote a paper for NMJI, and the title of our paper is knows how to shows how. How we need to convert ourselves from knows how to shows how, and we need to really do this. So impact evaluation is something, as I said, did the learners enjoy training? Yes, most of the people enjoy role plays, movies, exercises. Did learning transfer occur? Definitely they have understood. Did the training change behavior? I have plus minus. And I really don't know, did the training influence performance? You know, in a large 5 lakh students, to change attitude and behavior is a task which I didn't think. Many times you are not able to change your daughter or son with all efforts you want to do it. You know, your own family you find, you cannot change. 1 or 2 people where you can give a lot of time. Forget about 5 lakh students with 1 lakh teachers. You are trying to do too much and too big. So don't expect everything to go well. The idea is we have begun. We have started putting this onto the platform of this. So let's see how it really works. So if you really look at this paper, some students have never witnessed such role modeling. Research suggests that creative instincts of medical students could be utilized through exposure to the humanities to explicitly develop their skills. This is a wonderful paper from UCMS in BMJ, and you should really see these papers, you know. Most PG orientation program has now communication skills. People have realized value of communication skills in postgraduate. So most of them either orientation program, but I think we need to go much deeper into communication. We need to have labs, we need to have much more material, our training has to come, and I'm sure the kind of Indian situations we have, once we put it on track, I'm sure it will start working over a period of time. So what is future? That is what we should really end with. Today we are all talking about mixed reality. We are all talking about virtual reality, mixed reality. We are all talking about, you know, this is the way we use HoloLens to treat surgery to Nepalis and Bhutanese kind of surgeons. So I am in Mumbai, they are in Bhutan, they are doing surgery. We are trying to tell them this is the way to go. Now this is very common all over the world now. And this is something which we do. And I'm sure this is the way we see images and we treat them. So record and analyze but what we need to do is record your communication, attitude, and body language. The way you talk, objectively assess, give feedback, improve specific components that were always judgmental. You know, I think you bring these components in your teaching. You know, sometimes I feel when we talk to a student, it's very difficult to give him feedback into this because his language is not proper. Sometimes his speech is defective, his words use is defective. How many of you have ever thought about giving a feedback to him? So that's where you need to first understand the link between him. You understand the environment where we can think about giving him feedback. Then find out a situation and then give him appropriate feedback and then help him to come out of that kind of a situation to make him better. So this is not a very simple task. You know, it's a very difficult task, though it looks very simple. Try to do it with your own children. You know, simple thing which you have. Try to see if I want to change a habit of my child, what effort I have to do. It's not so easy. You know, people say my child sees mobile. What is my screen time? Is 3 hours, 6 hours. How do I reduce it? Think about it, how you can do this. So we need to watch this in future. So the lastly, what everybody should remember is the model of professional identity formation. You know, today we all talk about professional identity. This is the latest thing into professionalism. And now we all talk about an approach developed in reaction to concerns about reductionist behavioral model describing progressive incorporation of values and aspirations of profession into identity of a person as a good physician. Rather than my skills, my attitude, I need to develop a professional identity of mine. And that is what we call knows how, shows how, does, and I go into an identity formation. That is the highest level of Miller, added to the Miller. And now we go into this consistent demonstrates the attitude, values, and behaviors. Think, act, and feel like a physician. Now, this is something, the last statement is most important. Are you able to develop a professional identity of my students or my colleagues or my children over a period of time? Maybe in the postgraduate you can start, but undergraduate it will take a lot of time before we achieve. But the institution can do it. Ultimately, you see, why do we say that, okay, JIPMER, KEM, M's, why they have a different kind of students, why we all the time say this. That's where they form their identity. And this is where we need to think. So this was a very nice paper on professional identity in BMC 2022. And professional identity formation